to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. I've walked these mountains in the rain. I've learned to love the wind. I've been up before the sunrise to watch the day begin. I always knew I'd find you, though I never did know how. But like sunshine on a cloudy day, you stand before me now. You must give yourself to love. If love is what you're after, open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born in fire. It's planted like a seed. Love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. Love comes when you are ready. Love comes when you're afraid. It will be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. You must give yourself to love. If love is what you're after, open up your hearts to the tears and laughter and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. It is good to be together today. It is good to be together this week. A few days ago was the Transgender Day of Visibility, a day to honor and celebrate the trans people among us that we love, who enrich our lives and our families and our communities with their ability to live their truth and lead us all into better integration of what our heart tells us and who we are in the world. And we know that visibility is not enough. That visibility, especially now, often brings threats and insecurity and legislation and all kinds of things that make people, the brave people that we love, more vulnerable. So in this week, may we commit and recommit to creating communities and a world that is safe for the people that we love, for all of the people that we love. And this season is also the beginning of Ramadan, the month of fasting and prayer celebrated by our Muslim friends and neighbors and community members and family members, in honor of the month in which the sacred words of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And as Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, wherever it takes us, whether that is listening to that still small voice inside us that encourages us to live our deepest truth, or looking towards revelation handed down and tradition passed on. So come, let us gather together. Come, let us continue our search, free and responsibly, for truth and meaning in our own hearts, in our tradition, and in our community. Come, let us worship together.
Welcome. whether in person or on Zoom, I should say. Welcome to this opportunity to be together in community, which can be a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. People's Unitarian Universalist Congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We are not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. My name is Becky Moffett-Moore, and I'm from the Sunday Services Committee. I would like to extend a welcome to everyone gathered here this morning. Though we are spread afar, whether you're new or a regular at People's Church, to those of you who are visitors to our services or here for the first time, thank you for being with us this morning. We come here to learn more about being in relationship with each other, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. Now let us move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and opening to connection in all its forms.
And as we begin, I have several announcements for our community. The first is that a memorial service for Eric Zelder will be held next Saturday at 3 p.m. Like our Sunday services, it is multi-platform, so you can participate either by being in this room or attending on Zoom with our regular Zoom link. We have a transition in our administrative staff that I want you all to know about. Chris Schluter's last day of work was this previous week, so he is off into new adventures, and our new administrator, Melissa Emrich, has begun. She can be reached in all the same ways you used to reach Chris, except his personal cell phone. So don't call that anymore when you're trying to squeeze something into the newsletter past the deadline. And her schedule is a bit different than Chris's, so she will not be working on Mondays and will be working on Fridays. So now you know. Our regathering team met not long ago and has new and updated guidance for us. First, we get to sing now, which I am so excited about. So that's why there are hymnals on your seats, and we printed orders of service for those who are here in person that have the lyrics for songs that are not in our hymnals. If you do not have one of those and want to sing in a little while and not just mumble along, you'll want to go out and grab one. Other decisions that they made included that we no longer need to wear masks when we are gathering outside in large groups, although people are invited to if that's what they prefer. We will continue doing our health screenings at the door for the foreseeable future, though we are not asking people to RSVP to be in the commons because we haven't hit our cap. We can safely accommodate 87 people and we have not been there yet. So we're relieving that administrative burden. And for now, we are still not doing large group eating or drinking together. So that is no coffee hour for now. And our regathering team will continue to monitor the health statistics in our wider community and monitor how things are going here. But so far, we have been safe. And we know that not everyone is comfortable with every risk. And so we are committed to offering Zoom attendance at worship for the foreseeable future to accommodate everybody where they are as best as we are able. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, please be in contact with me or our regathering team, who includes Greg Feldmeyer, Marty Peter Sparling, Gary Heckman, Donna McClurkin, and our new administrator, Melissa Emrich. They have all guided us through this very, very ably. Okay, and our next announcement, we have a special guest. Christina Suarez-Ross is from Out Front, and we'll be talking about our Host Homes program. And I invite you all to seriously consider if you have the capacity to say yes to what she will be inviting us all into. Come on, Christina.
Hi, good morning. My name is Christina Suarez-Ross, and I'm the Director of Homeless Youth Programs at Outfront Kalamazoo, and this is Ricky Cruiser. He's our Director of Advocacy there. So I appreciate you guys letting me speak to you. And I am a little breathless this morning, so Ricky might take over. The Host Homes program is a program we have for youths age 13 to 17 who identify as LGBTQ and are homeless. Because of that, whether they've been kicked out by family, or they just can't find someone who is accepting of their lifestyle. That's where we come in. And right now we have one host family, and I placed someone with them about 3 weeks to a month ago, and it's going beautifully. They have a beautiful relationship. It's a couple that's in their 70s. So they're retired, and the youth is a 17-year-old transgender female, and they've become this gorgeous, loving family that they're like grandparents. And I was there the other day for a couple hours, and they go back and forth like grandparents and kids, and that's what we're looking for. That's the ultimate goal, is to place a homeless youth in a home where they're going to be loved and accepted, and become a part of that family and feel what it feels like to be part of a healthy, functioning family. So we are in desperate need of host homes, because since word has gotten out that we are an active program, we have gotten a lot of referrals, a lot of walk-ins. I'm dealing with at least one crisis a day. And Ricky has really been partnering with me to help out with this program. We need long-term host homes, which would be basically a 6-month commitment. And we also need short-term emergency type host homes where a youth would be placed for anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever actually works for that family. So ultimately, our goal is to have like 20 host homes, so that when we get a youth who is in need, that individual can take a look at the files on these families and figure out which is the best fit. And then the family can also do the same. So those are our needs, and we need everything. We need the homes, we need donations. We have some people that are interested in setting up recurring monthly donations. We need things like that. So I am going to be out there with Ricky, and I have business cards, and I'll be there for questions because I don't want to take up all your time. I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
And now we're going to talk about our ongoing stewardship campaign, first by hearing from Rick Johnson.
Good morning. I'm Rick Johnson. That's okay. In preparing this talk, a title evolved, and it is A Better Way to Pay a Pledge. I've always enjoyed pledge time at People's Church. I got to listen to all those heartfelt testimonials and was in turn inspired to formulate my own private testimonial, which always produced a meaningful pledge. I'd fill out the pledge card, select the appropriate pay schedule, and then submit the card as proof of my financial support. But that's where the trouble began. As soon as I returned to the joys of church life, that promissory note faded from my memory. Plenty of time for that later on, I would say to myself. And of course, before I knew it, the day of reckoning was fast approaching, and I had paid little or nothing of my pledge. Even knowing I was on friendly territory didn't help very much. One year, I even withdrew the entire amount from my account in cash and dramatically peeled off the entire sum in $100 bills on Dana Kubinski's bookkeeping desk. She was impressed, and I felt like a church big spender for about a minute and a half. Usually, however, in the other years, the payments were by check, delivered until the slate was wiped clean, and I could begin the process all over again. And that's the way it worked for me for years. Always a little tense, a little rushed. Dana tolerated it, and thankfully, I always managed to pay on time. And then, 2 years ago, I discovered the serenity of automatic deposit. What a wonderful way to pay a pledge. An old idea to many, but not to me. An affordable amount is now deducted from my account and deposited as reliable, steady income for my church. I get the bonus of 12 email thank yous every year. They mean a lot, and I'm sure they help keep me committed to this new system. I now confidently sail through the church year with no approaching drama. So there you have it. I have found a better way to pay my pledge, and I'm still moved by the testimonials that I hear every year. I bet we've all made our own personal lists on why we're members of this unique liberal church. Mine, in a nutshell, is pretty simple. I love the building. I love the grounds. I even love the people for who they are and what they do. And I think to myself, all this is provided for and protected by the pledges we all make. What a bargain we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you to all of you who have returned your pledge commitments already in this month of stewardship. We have heard from 67 pledgers in our church who have made commitments together totaling $157,000, which is amazing, and we are grateful. We are a free church, which means that we are responsible for its support in all of the ways. And your pledges are the single largest source of income for our congregation. So that is why we take a month every year and ask you to make your commitment for the coming year. We are hoping to end this campaign next Sunday, and we still are waiting to hear from about half of the people we're expecting to hear from, which is often how this goes. As Rick testified, sometimes last minute is a way to be in the world. And so I invite you over the next week, if you're able, to make your pledge. If you're here in the building today, we have paper pledge forms on the same table where we had our orders of service. If you're more comfortable with online giving, we have a big pledge button on the church website. We've tried to send emails and paper copies and texts to all the people in all of the ways that they receive information. And it would be great if you let us know within the next week what your pledge is, or if you're not pledging this year, Because if you don't tell us, we get to start calling and emailing and texting you to track you down. And when I call you over the next few weeks, I don't want to be talking about money. I would rather talk about everything else. And I think that's true for the rest of the stewardship committee as well. So I invite you to make our jobs easier by being in touch over the next week. And thank you for all of the ways that you are generous. It was a lot of announcementsy, businessy stuff today. So how about now we sing? So I invite you to open your hymnals to number 368, appropriately titled, Now Let Us Sing.
And I invite you to stand as you are willing or able for the first time in over 2 years. So we've got a low part and a high part in this song, if you're not familiar with it. And I'm going to start the low part and then continue on with the high part. Here's our note. So we'll go 1, 2. Now let us sing the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within.
If you are lighting a chalice at home, you are encouraged to type in the chat box, a chalice is lit in your neighborhood, your city, on your street. Words for today, We Come Together Without Creed by Maureen Kiloram. In this free church, we come together without creed, focusing instead on the core values of justice, equity, and compassion, of mutual acceptance of diverse ways of being, as we seek to connect ourselves more fully with the unfolding truths of life and of our world. We come together in shared conviction that all people deserve a voice in matters that concern them, and that it is up to each of us to protect the rights of all, particularly those who, for whatever reason, have long been held in silence. We come together in the stubborn belief that community is possible and that peace is more than a dream. We commit together to affirm in our actions, as well as our words, the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. We come together in awareness of our interdependence with all humanity and with the wider web of existence, for that too is part of what is meant by we. In this free church, we come together without creed, believing that the way we live in the world bears testament to the value of our beliefs. We light this chalice as a beacon of hope for who have gathered here this day, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, and for those whose paths will never come our way. For all this, and for all those things we dare to hope and dream, we kindle our chalice flame this day.
Zoom attendees, number 27 today, and they have lit chalices in the Vine neighborhood, in Portage, in Battle Creek, Winchell neighborhood, and Kalamazoo. Our story today is a old story from the Jewish tradition called Two Brothers. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there were two brothers. They were well loved in their family and grew up kind and generous. And when their father passed away, they divided his lands equally among them. So they shared a field of barley. And on each side, they built their own barn and their own home. One of the brothers, in turn, married and had children of his own, while the other brother did not. And still they worked together every day in their field, tending their crops, preparing and growing, and bringing some to market every year to buy the things that they needed to keep their families going. One day in harvest time, the brother with the family woke up in the middle of the night and realized, we've been dividing our crops evenly this whole time, and that is not fair. My brother lives alone and has no one to care for him. Surely he needs to take more to market, to buy all of the things he needs and people to care for him, because he does not have a family. And so he put on his big overcoat and went out to the barn and grabbed as much barley as he could carry and snuck across the field in the middle of the night and put it in his brother's barn. And shortly after that brother with the family got to sleep, back to sleep, the brother who lived alone woke up and thought, we've been dividing our crops equally this whole time, but that is not fair. My brother has a whole family to support. Clearly, he needs to be taking more to the market to buy all of the things he needs for his family. So I am going to take some of my barley and sneak it into my brother's barn for him to take to market, which he did. And the next morning, the brothers woke up and went to their barns and did not see what they expected. It looked like nothing had happened, even though they had gone out in the middle of the night and moved the barley around. So that night, they did it again. And the next night, they did it again and again. And they were still noticing that nothing seemed to be different. And so they tried again, hoping for a different result. And so that night, the two brothers were walking across the field together in the dark and ran right into each other. And they saw their barley scattered all over. They saw their brothers and said, "What are you doing? Why are you out here sneaking barley across the field in the middle of the night?" And the brother with the family said, "Well, you live alone. You need to have more in savings to take care of you." And the brother who lived alone said, "No, that's not what I need. I need to take care of you and my nieces and my nephews." And then they realized, we're both trying to take care of each other. And how about we just continue on the way we have been doing, dividing things equally? But we can't plan for the future right now, so we will know who needs more, when, and we will ask and we will share and not get too caught up on what is precisely fair in this moment, and just pledge to take care of each other in the future. And that is our story. And Laura McClellan shares, and I remember this, the last time we did this story, I was telling it and the children flung dried beans all over the room. I don't know if any of the rest of you remember that. So bundles of popsicle sticks are a little more effective. And soon we will get to have our children back in here to add to the chaos of our storytelling. People's people are generous people in so many ways. Today, I want to highlight how generous people's people are with their time and their ideas. 3 or 4 times over the last few weeks, I have been in meetings and I have thought and sometimes said aloud, and this is why we have meetings. Because someone brings a kernel of an idea and the next person brings the next part and the next part and the next part, and something is created in that gathering that no one could have accomplished alone. Some of these ideas you will see in the coming weeks in services and in programs, and some of these ideas are just the things that a staff does that the church only notices if it goes off the rails. But we are better when we are together. We are better when people bring their best ideas and then don't hold so closely to them that other people can't improve them, and are generous with accepting improvement and offering it. So this is the moment where I invite you to continue to be the generous people that you are and support the good and important work of People's Church with your time, with your ideas, and your money. If you are in our space, we have donation boxes in the back of the Commons. If you are reading with us online, you are welcome to give through our website. The link will be given. Or as Rick so beautifully attested, automatic payments are really a great thing. So however you give, be generous.
So I wrote this song early on in the pandemic called Connected, envisioning a day, who would have known more than 2 years later when we would start being together again. So that part's really good. The other reason I thought about this whole idea is that I felt like COVID taught us just how connected we really are. So there's this irony that, especially early on when we were in lockdown, that we're all separated, all our lives are totally disrupted, and yet COVID is out there showing us that what we do actually affects everyone else. And it challenged us as a society, as a world, to really think about our connection in ways that most of us have never experienced in our lifetimes. So anyway, that's kind of where the song came from. There's been a few word changes since the words that are in there, so that's okay. That's how life goes. But feel free to sing along if you start to pick up on it, especially on the chorus and the bridge, because those are all just the way they're supposed to be in there. It's called Connected. Like some great call that we are connected after all. The salt of the sea is in our veins, the dust of a burning star light years away. Like rivers and lakes and waterfalls, well, we are connected after all. So here we are, here we'll stay, heart to heart on a brand new day. Oil and flame, and a world with hope made new. We are connected, me and you. It's there in the roots of every tree. It's here in this breath of life inside of me. Together we rise and so we fall. For we are connected after all. Yeah, here we are. Here we'll stay. Heart to heart on a brand new day. Oil and flame, and a world with hope made new. We are connected, me and you. You were there, you held on tight, my anchor strong, my beacon light in joy and pain. We'll set this flame and we will carry on. Whoa, whoa, yeah, here we are. Here we'll stay, heart to heart on a brand new day. Oil and flame, and a world with hope made new. We are connected, me and you. We are connected after all.
Thank you, Daryl. That was an awesome song. Please join with me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. And may the joyous be shielded. And may all of us know that we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. Spirit of life, who draws us together in a web of holy relationships. Make your presence known within us and in us and among us. Remind us that we are not alone in history. Ignite us with the courage of the living tradition. Remind us that we are not alone in entering the future. Anchor us with perseverance and patience. Remind us that we are not alone in our times of grief and pain. Comfort us with your spirit, manifest in human hands and voices. Remind us that we are not alone in joy and wonder. Inspire us to honor and extend the beauty we find in the world. Divine music of the universe, let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion. May we move with the rhythms of justice. Source of stars and planets and water and land, open our hearts to all of our neighbors. Open our souls to a renewal of faith. Open our hands to join together in the work of head. So be it. Blessed be, and amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
The first reading this morning is called The Web of Life by Robert T. Weston. There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us each with each and through all life on to the distant stars. Each knows a little corner of the world and lives as if this were his all. We no more see the farther reaches of the threads than we see of the future, yet they're there. Touch but one thread, no matter which, the thoughtful eye may trace to distant lands, its firming continuing stand. Let loose its filaments as they reach out, but find at last it coming back to him from whom it led. We move as in a fog, aware of self, but only dimly conscious of the rest, as they are close to us in sight or feeling. New objects loom up for a time, fade in and out. Then sometimes, as we look unawares, the fog lifts, and there's the web of shimmering beauty, reaching past all horizons. We catch our breath, stretch out our eager hands, and then it comes the fog again, and we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen. The hands were right. The web is real. Our folly is that we soon so forget. The second reading, Assisted Living Devices by Eleanor Kemmler. In the church I serve, we have a Sunday morning worship leader who welcomes everyone at the start of the service. They give the necessary announcements, including telling the congregation that large print orders of service and assisted living devices, listening devices, are available from the ushers. On the best Sundays, which don't happen as often as I wish, the worship leader mistakenly says that assisted living devices are available from the ushers. I am always secretly rooting for this mistake because it makes everyone laugh. And because it would be so excellent if the ushers really had assisted living devices to give out. I would raise my hand for one every time. I know I'm not alone. A lot of us feel like our lives should have come with instructions, or maybe they did, but we lost the only copy a long time ago. 7 years ago, I left my marriage over 2 decades. We had 2 young children at the time. During the day, I could mostly live with the weight of my decisions, but at night, the voices of my fear and guilt were relentless. Had I chosen my own happiness over my children's? Would this become a terrible turning point in their lives? The moment when they lost faith and stability in promises made and kept? I prayed for operating instructions for some sign we could all get through this. I let them have too much screen time as I juggled ministry and motherhood. I was raggedly determined, driving around in a borrowed truck to collect Craigslist furniture and writing sermons in the middle of the night. A few months in, an older woman in the congregation visited me. I left my marriage with young kids to raise, she told me. I still remember how tired I was. You need to let us help you. I started to protest and she stopped me. You know you are fine, she said quietly, fiercely, kindly, and you still need to let us help you. Luckily, I realized this was a sign. Kindness offered from someone who has traveled our particular hard road before us is always the sign. So I let them help me. Members of the congregation came with paintbrushes and scrub brushes and donated pots and kitchen utensils, some of which looked suspiciously new. They put together my children's beds and painted the walls of our new apartment. I was undone by their tenderness and healed by it. None of us have a map. We are all just making the way as we go. We can help each other get through the painful places we know most intimately because we have lived in them. There really are assisted living devices, and they are us. We have each other.
Our third reading today is The Body of Love by Elizabeth Bucke. We're part of an interdependent web of existence, and sometimes that interdependence is physical. In 2015, my dad almost died of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, medical for your lungs are turning into scar tissue and we don't know why. In August, he told me what hymns he wanted at his funeral. We watched him slip away, getting weaker and weaker. But one night in December, a stranger died, and my family and several others on organ waiting lists got a call. The day after the winter solstice, my dad received a life-saving transplant. I remember the cycles of hope and fear, waiting for the organs to arrive from out of town, sharing an ecstatic family hug when the surgery was successful. It was disruptive and strange to spend Christmas in the hospital, living on endless cups of coffee and constant hand washing. Even more so to know that someone had died to bring this hope, and to wonder how the donor's family mourned at the same time we rejoiced. This gift of new life wasn't just warm and fuzzy. It came with disruption and responsibility. Something was forever changed in our family. Something also changed in how I understand human connection. One day, about a year and a half later, I spotted a man wearing Donate Life gear on a walk with his mother, and I stopped them. "Hey, this is weird, but I saw your hat and just wanted to see what your connection is. My dad is a transplant recipient." The man told me his brother had died young and that they chose organ donation. They kept getting notifications, his mother said. His eyes were in Tennessee. His lungs were over here. He had been a small person, so his heart went to a child. They think sometimes about how these living pieces are still living all over the country. I told them I probably would never meet or know my dad's donor family and asked if I could thank them, and I did. Christian teachings use the image of one body to describe the beloved community. This is part of what this means to me now. Organs and tissue connecting strangers across time and space. We need one another to survive, not just abstractly, but in our flesh, in our blood, in the choices we make to give life even amidst death. What would change if I lived with this knowledge? If my cousin's heart kept your child alive? If my O-negative blood saved the life of the religiously conservative man in your neighborhood? If your uncle's lungs breathed air into my dad's body the day he met his granddaughter? How would I act if I really knew that we are not isolated individuals, but parts of each other's being? What grace, messy, vulnerable, and disturbing, might come to dwell among us?
I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to survive. I pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to survive. I pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to survive. I pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to survive. I pray for you, you pray for me. I love you, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you, I need you to survive. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive.
Mama, I am so glad we are not sea turtles, my eldest child announced a few months ago. Really? I responded. Why? Until that moment, I had never considered the possibility of being a sea turtle. Because, he began, as though he was stating the most obvious of facts. If we were sea turtles, I wouldn't know you. Sea turtles never meet their parents. It's true. Sea turtles never meet their parents. Mother sea turtles awkwardly crawl onto the beach when it is time to lay their eggs. They dig holes in the sand, they lay the eggs, they return to the ocean, and they are long gone 2 months later when the 100 or so eggs hatch, and those tiny little baby turtles have to get across the beach to the ocean, avoiding all the seabirds and other predators who have come for an easy feast. These babies fend for themselves from the moment they are born. It's not like that with humans, obviously. We evolved differently with a different strategy for the survival of our species. Instead of hundreds of offspring, hoping that a few reach maturity, we have a few who require a tremendous amount of care. Each of us was born so dependent, too weak to even hold up our own heads, and so much in need of help and care. And we continue that dependence for so long. One of my kids' many books of animal facts lists how long animals who do know their parents remain with them. My 6-year-old is fascinated by this, especially the reality that he would have overstayed his welcome if he were nearly any other species. Bears and foxes and tigers and rabbits, all mature and move away. They're living on their own by the time they're 6. My kid is bewildered by this. Why would they want to do that? It's good to have someone to care for you. Why can't they just be a team with their parents forever? He is lucky and fortunate to be cared for by trustworthy adults at home, at school, and here. And I know in a few short years, he will want something very different. And the autonomy and independence will make sense. But for now, he's content with interdependence and dependence. And he is my teacher in this way. He recognizes in his childlike way his dependence, and he finds joy in those connections. And for most of us, as we grow, the dance between independence and interdependence becomes complicated. We want autonomy and we want relationship. We want to make our own choices and we want community. And we have moments when our illusions of separateness are shattered and we come to know ourselves as part of the interconnected web of all existence in a new way. Sometimes this is joyful. Often it is painful. Like the reality that Daryl described in his song of recognizing how in this time of global pandemic that we have been navigating for over 2 years, we know in new ways how our safety and our survival depends on the choices made by strangers. So today I'm offering up a few ways to look at this dance between independence and interdependence. The first is biological. Most of us, most of the time, think of ourselves as selves with some level of autonomy and independence. I am me, not you, not us, me. But the truth is complicated, at least at the level of our microbiome. Each of us is an I, but also a we, dependent on all of the tiny organisms that live within us. In the book, I Contain Multitudes, the microbes within us and a grander view of life, Pulitzer Prize-winning science journalist Ed Young writes, even when we are alone, we are never alone. We exist in symbiosis, a wonderful term that reflects and refers to different organisms living together. Some animals are colonized by microbes while they are still unfertilized eggs. Others pick up their first partners at the moment of birth. We then proceed through our lives in their presence. When we eat, so do they. When we travel, they come along. When we die, they consume us. Every one of us is a zoo in our own right. A colony enclosed within a single body, a multi-species collective, an entire world. Sometimes I try to think of myself as a zoo, a multi-species collective in this body, teeming with all sorts of life that has co-evolved with humanity to this moment, to this symbiosis. And I can hold on to that idea for only really a minute or two before it collapses. In comes the fog again, as the poet says. My attempt at we turn back into me. But in those brief moments when I am capable of understanding myself as a multi-species collective, I catch glimpses of a deeper awareness of my interdependence and interdependence that feels right and true. I find a new humility in this moment. The dance between interdependence and independence also lives in communities, of course. In this free church, as Becky read earlier, we come together without creed, believing that the way we live in the world bears testament to the value of our beliefs. We are committed to the idea that we do not need to believe the same things to be a community together here at People's Church. That is rare and precious. It is our greatest strength as a church and sometimes a challenge. And we are living through a time of challenge. As a congregation, a challenge about what it means to live our values of justice, equity, and compassion, a challenge about what it means to engage in democratic decision-making. Just over a month ago, our church had a congregational meeting at which we adopted new bylaws. The most contentious part of the debate was about Article 3, the commitment to equity. The language adopted by this congregation reads as follows. I know some of you probably have this memorized by now, but I am not among you. People's Church is deeply committed to the principle of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We affirm the need to dismantle all forms of oppression and commit to changing ourselves, our organization, and our society by building an environmentally just, wholly diverse, multicultural, beloved community that accountably dismantles racism and all forms of oppression, assuring every action, policy, and practice governing and operating this congregation aligns with the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our success will be known by our actions. Reflections on the validity and effectiveness of our actions will be informed by and centered on the lived experiences of those who identify as marginalized. There was surprise at this congregational meeting that the votes on this article and ideas for amending it were so divided by people who supported it as written and people who wanted to amend it. There were big emotions and in the meeting and in the weeks since, strong opinions. Your board has had conversations amongst themselves and with members of the church who have reached out to them about their thoughts. And I've been part of some conversations too. This is what I have seen over the past few weeks. A lot of people acting with integrity, speaking their truth, telling other people their views, listening, asking curious questions. I see people addressing conflict and leaning into difficult conversations and seeking to understand. Even the 3 people who decided to resign from this church after the meeting have acted with a tremendous amount of integrity. It all could have been otherwise. I am proud of the people who are making these choices to be aligned with their values over and over and over again. So often, conflict brings out our worst selves, and I'm not seeing that. This is what I know. This is a congregation where 30 years ago, a conflict led the church to split and led to the creation of the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Southwest Michigan, our neighbors in Portage. And that conflict is very different from this conflict for a variety of reasons. One is that that conflict was largely about a minister. And when you fight about a minister, there's really no compromising. You can't have half of a minister. And right now, the conflict is about words and processes and how these bylaws can shape policies and practices of our community. And there is so much room to learn and grow together, to forge agreements, come to shared understandings, and make peace with what will not be resolved, because there probably will be some of that too. Words are malleable and bylaws amendable. And as we negotiate our independence and our interdependence, we will learn from each other and from our own inner teachers. So from what I know right now, which is not everything, I don't think we're on the eve of a schism. If we stay in these conversations with each other and keep learning and keep showing up as our best selves, we are on the eve of becoming a community more adept at this dance of independence and interdependence. a community more gracefully able to navigate differences of thought and belief and all other sorts of differences as well. It might be uncomfortable for a while, it probably will be, and take some time. But gaining any new skill, any new muscle is uncomfortable and takes time. So please stay in it. Please keep acting with integrity. And if you're new and don't know anything about this, know that this is a church that takes itself seriously and cares deeply about who we are and who we want to be in the world. Today's final way we dance between independence and interdependence is when we need help. We begin our lives wholly dependent on others, not able to hold up our own head. And we all have times when, due to illness, injury, disability, aging, grief, or so many other things that come into our lives, we need someone to lean on, literally and metaphorically. This is a topic that's come up several times over the past year in our Facing Life, Facing Death group that talks about issues of living well and mortality. The move into a living situation with more support can be hard. It is hard to ask others for help. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to make anyone else feel obligated. And it's sometimes hard to think of ourselves as someone who needs help. I think this is especially true at People's Church, because we have so many people here who are or were helpers in their paid work. Educators, people who care for the mental and physical health of others, people who work in social services, our large number of librarians, and more. And so many of you help make this church happen and make the world better without getting paid for it at all, which is amazing too. It's one of the strengths of this church. People's people are helpers and show up. And when you help so much, it can be hard to realize that you can also receive help. I know this is something I have to remind myself sometimes. We too often echo Elia Kemmler in her reflection, protesting when people want to help. And so I'm not going to give instructions, but I'm just going to name and publicly observe that in a few minutes, we're going to sing the lyric, "No one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show." I wish I could give instructions in this dance, give you the 3 simple rules to dance between independence and interdependence with skill, grace, and joy, never erring too far into either. But this is not a dance whose movements were handed down years ago, created, and now rigidly repeated with precision. This is an improvisation with rhythms that shift, and is up to each of us to find the movements, the positions, the way of being that keeps us balanced and brings us joy. And then the circumstances change and we have to find our way back into balance and joy again and again and again and again. So may we know that we are an I and a we, an autonomous self and a multi-species collective. May we be individuals and parts of communities, listeners to the voices of others and to our own inner teacher. May we dance gracefully between independence and interdependence. Let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen. And we get to sing again.
Yes, we do. I invite you now to rise and body your spirit to sing Lean on Me. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Let us go out into the world as our own multi-species collectives, right? It's wild to think about. Knowing that we need each other to survive, and we need to listen to our own conscience and find that place of balance and grace where the I and the we work. Let us go in peace and go in love.